Okay, so maybe you've already tried implementing your cycle. Maybe you've taken some information that you've read about online and you've tried to integrate it into your business, or maybe you're still just wondering. Maybe you're wondering whether or not integrating your cycle is actually going to make that big of a difference for you. If that's you, this video is for you. Inside this video, I'm going to show you 5 of the biggest mistakes that I see women making when they're using their cycle that actually limit their ability to increase their income, impact, all of those things that they want to do by using their cycle. Hello, my name is Renae Fieck. I am a cycle syncing and feminine leadership coach. I have spent the last couple of years really helping women learn how to trust their menstrual cycles, learn to trust themselves, trust their bodies, and pair that with the magnetism of their feminine energy to really create these businesses that feel so in alignment, that feel so lit up and feel so good for them, their life, their lifestyle, their dreams, all of those types of things. Over that time, I've really seen these patterns kind of emerge in terms of those women who really embody it and do increase their income, do increase their impact, start working less hours, and those who take it and they use it for a little bit, but they don't actually fully embody it and make the true change that they want. And so in this video, I'm going to give you what those things are so that you can be one of those women that actually takes it and runs with it and works in a way that feels so good for you. Mistake number 1 is not tracking consistently. And I know if you have been in my world for a while, you know I harp on consistency a lot. That consistency is really just not how women were designed to work. And I talk about that a lot because consistency oftentimes comes with this mentality that we are the same every single day and that we're working in the same way every single day. And that is not how women are designed. If you would love to know more about how women are designed, see one of my earlier videos. I will pin it below that talks about how women's cycles impact us day to day to day and how we are so different. But when we look at consistency and tracking consistently, the important part of this is that your body does change. You are not the same every single day, nor are you the same month to month to month. And so everything you do in your life has the power to impact your cycle. How well you sleep, whether you got sick, whether you had a month where you were pushing hard, maybe you were working out extra, whatever those things are, they are going to have an impact on your cycle. They're going to impact on your energy. And so it's really important for you to have a system that you're able to contract consistently over time, what those changes are. When you try to just take like 1 month and you say, this is where my cycle's at, and you try to predict where that's going to be 6 months down the line when you're trying to plan a launch or plan your business plan or your strategy or anything like that, it's going to be really hard if your cycle changes or if things impact it. So it's really important for us to track consistently. Each and every single woman is going to have a different rhythm in their body. So we can't just take a system and like a Pinterest graphic and throw it into your calendar and expect that it's going to work for you. The importance is you learning to trust your body and understanding what's happening in your body and what things make changes. I found that there were certain supplements that I would take that would throw off my cycle. Certain patterns of eating would throw off my cycle. There was things that I was doing in my lifestyle that were impacting the way my cycle was showing up. And the only way for me to know that was by tracking consistently. Without the long-term data, you might misinterpret what's actually happening, or you might plan things and they're misaligned. So it really is valuable to track consistently. Now, I'm one of those people that I'm all about simplicity and ease. And so finding a system that's going to work for you, that's going to help you track consistently every single day, that feels simple and easy is going to be so key to this. For me, I love my Aura Ring because it tracks where my cycle's at, where my basal body temperature's at. So I know when ovulations happened. I will never be blindsided by my period because I always know a couple weeks in advance when that's going to happen based on when my ovulation's happening. I can see patterns in ovulation, and it really ultimately makes you a better advocate for your own health when you go to your doctor. Now, the second mistake is that women oftentimes overload their phases throughout the month. So we naturally have these ebbs and flows throughout the month that are going to have more energy or less energy, phases that are going to be more focused on certain energetic type of tasks. So like a very detail-oriented task, very like in the budgeting kind of a thing, is going to be very different than recording a video like this. And so what happens is that women are mismatching their tasks and putting things in the wrong category, or they're overloading. So maybe your business is like one of my clients. She's an accountant, and a lot of her tasks are a lot of that detail-oriented behind the computer type of tasks. And so she was heavily stacking those phases of her month. And so working really, 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 really hard in that phase, but then the other phases feeling a little bit lighter. And so sometimes that's helpful, but if you're putting way too much in a certain phase, you're going to feel stressed and overwhelmed and crammed in that 1 week, and then other weeks feel like there's nothing to do. And so it's really important to take a really good look at all of the tasks that you're doing in your business and do what I call a task analysis and break them down. Like as an occupational therapist, I spent years breaking down tasks into every little minute part of the task and saying, does this fit the best in this category or this phase, or can it move somewhere else? There are a lot of tasks that are kind of dual purpose, right? They can kind of go maybe in two different areas or two different tasks. Like budgeting, for instance, is one that I mentioned earlier, might be a really great one to do in that luteal phase when you're very detail oriented and very number crunchy. But if your luteal phase is so packed with other things, it also is a task that you probably could move to that follicular phase when you're focused on checking the boxes and getting things done. So there is a little bit of flexibility into where we put things and how we structure your month. It's not just necessarily like, this is the best phase that it's aligned with, I'm going to stick it here. Because what happens that way is that women tend to get way overwhelmed, way overloaded in certain phases and then have nothing in the other phases. And that creates a significant imbalance too. So before you do anything, before you plan everything, like your month based on your cycle out, I highly recommend doing a full brain dump. This is something I walk my clients through inside Your Cycle Advantage, is doing a full brain dump and then creating these categories of what each of the tasks are and where they could best fit, and then kind of aligning that way. Now, mistake number 3 is ignoring the power of rest. Now, this one is one I know, as a high achieving person myself, I love achieving big things. And I know a lot of my clients are very heart-centered, impact-driven type of women. We love to work. We love what we're doing. It's not so much the work. It's we love what we're doing. We love the impact that we're making in the world. And so sometimes we can get caught in the cycle of just working all the time because we love it. We love what we're doing, right? You probably love what you're doing. You love how you're impacting people and you have this heart that you want to serve and you want to make this big impact. And it's beautiful and wonderful and amazing. However, when we go all the time like that, when we're caught in this hustle culture, in a culture that really has defined rest as a weakness and something that's not okay and we shouldn't be doing, it's kind of driven us into this idea that if we've got to do more, we got to go harder, we got to go faster than anybody else if we want to achieve our goals. It really has put us in this place of devaluing rest and what that rest looks like. Now, I also think that there's this element of redefining that rest. So the menstrual phase, your recharge phase of your month, is the time when I talk about it as being your rest, your recharge. But for me, it comes less of it's just totally being this lazy week. We're not doing anything. We're laying by the pool. We're checked out. We're doing nothing. This is your expansion week. This is your week where your power comes from. This is the week that sets you up for the entire rest of the month. This is your visionary space. This is your CEO space. If anything, this would be the time of the month we want to spend more of our time, because this is the time where we tap into those most intuitive, most expansive, most dreamy ideas. So it really isn't a week of laziness. It's not a week of doing nothing. It's a week of rest, recharging, expanding, envisioning, creating endless possibilities. It is so incredibly powerful. But what happens is that a lot of women just in our society are just push. We're just go. We've glorified the doing and the busy. We've glorified the busy. And so this week of rest, a lot of times, this is the week that a lot of women have a really hard time leaning into, because we're letting go and unconditioning and deconditioning, whatever the word is, all of those constructs that we've been taught our entire life. So what if instead of leaning into this rest week, you saw it as I'm just resting? What if you saw this week as you're expanding? You're envisioning. You're stepping into that powerful role as a CEO. That, I think, will be a huge game changer when we look at this week. And if we look at like the slingshot, how we pull back the slingshot, the power in the slingshot comes from that pull back. This week is your pullback. Now, what happens after that, if you've seen any of my other trainings on the cycle, is that we shoot up into the follicular phase, and that is the busy doing, going, getting things checked off phase. How much more powerful will you be in that phase if when you've pulled back, you've stepped into that power, you've stepped into that expansion, you've stepped into that vision, and then when that time comes, you just slingshot off. So powerful. Now, mistake number 4 is expecting things to go perfectly all the time and things to match up perfectly all the time. Now, you and I both know life is not going to be perfect, number 1. Life has things that come, like there's going to be a kiddo that gets sick or a call that has to be done or an event that happens and it doesn't match up with your cycle perfectly. Or maybe you're just trying to coordinate a podcast interview with somebody and it's your time that works really well for you doesn't work well for her and you can't find a time that matches up perfectly for both of you. And so what happens, this is probably one of the biggest ones that I see happen where a lot of women give up and they stop doing it. It's this idea that it has to match up perfectly or that everything has to match up, that my entire life has to match up with my cycle. And if it doesn't, then things aren't going to go well. Or maybe you've matched it out perfectly and you've planned it perfectly and then whoops, something happens and your cycle doesn't show up the way you thought it would. It comes a week early or it comes a week late, or now it's like thrown everything off. This idea of expecting it to be perfect or wanting it to be done perfectly all the time is one of the things that's going to hold so many women back from really understanding its power. It's actually probably one of the biggest hiccups for women in business in general is this idea of perfection, of like getting it right. So what if you just approached it with a different mentality? What if you approached it with this idea of curiosity, of like, what can I do? Where can I match up? This question can be so incredibly powerful if you're still working a 9-to-5, because a lot of women will tell me they're like, well, I work a 9-to-5. I can't match any of this stuff up. Like it's not going to work because I have my 9-to-5 job. But asking yourself a different question, asking yourself a more powerful question, asking yourself the question of like, what could I incorporate? What could I match up? Like, how can I match this up? Can be an incredibly powerful question. And when we look at embodying some of these feminine leadership qualities and these traits that we embody as feminine leaders, one of the biggest ones is this idea of flexibility, of graciousness, of ease. It's one of the qualities that we focus on inside the Flow Collective and really looking at how can we embody our business and our life a little bit more from this place of flexibility and ease and graciousness rather than force and it has to be perfect. Life is going to happen. Your world is going to happen. Failures are going to happen. Things aren't going to always match up. People are going to get sick. So what would it look like just to ask different types of questions? What would it look like to approach every part of your business, every part of your life with this idea of curiosity and flexibility? I guarantee you, if you let go of the idea that your cycle and your life and everything has to match up exactly, that you would find so much more fluidity and you'd find so much more power, and you would start to see the small little ways, the small changes that your cycle would make in your life that are going to add up and make exponential results. Now, the last mistake, number 5, is really forgetting how much our cycle is impacted by everything that we are doing in our lives and vice versa. So a lot of women will come to me and they want to just take their cycle and they want to put it into their life and their business, but they forget that what they do in their life and business is impacting how their cycle is showing up as well. You are a one-bodied being, and everything you do is going to impact how your hormones show up. It's going to impact your energy level. It's going to impact everything. And so how you are taking care of your body, how you are taking care of your cycle, how you're taking care of you is going to have a direct result on how effective you are when you look at managing your cycle and embodying it into your business. One of the things I have seen over and over again is that women who have really irregular cycles and they come into this place of starting to really embody their cycle. They start to live into the phases of where their body's at. They start eating a little bit more closely with that. They start exercising with that. They allow themselves to take that extra hour of sleep that they need when they need it, based on where their cycle's at, all of those types of things. What happens is their body comes into a little bit more homeostasis, and the cycle starts to become more regular. It becomes more rhythmic. It's kind of one of those things, like, we look at our bodies are so smart, and they are trying to adapt, and they are trying to learn to everything that we're giving it. All of the habits, all of the routines. We are rhythm making machines. Like, our bodies want rhythm. It wants routine. It wants that predictability. And so it's trying to create it. So it's living off of the habits you're giving it. So right now, if you are predominantly living into habits that are more masculine driven, that are functioning more on that 24-hour rhythm, the way testosterone functions, you might be kind of running up against that rhythm, right? Your body's trying. Your body's trying to live into that rhythm. So it might throw a little things off, and your cycle might be irregular. Things might be weird or off, and like the symptoms might be worse. Like, I see a lot of women that have really, really hard menstrual cycle symptoms because they're living in opposition of their cycle. And so when we start to look at, like, what are those small little things that you can do? When you start to incorporate it into your business, can you allow yourself to change up your exercise routine? Maybe instead of going hard and doing HIIT workouts every single day, maybe you give yourself a little bit more yoga, a little bit more Pilates, a little bit more walking when your body needs a little bit more of that recovery. And I guarantee you, when you start focusing in on all of these pieces of, like, how your body is being impacted by your cycle, it's all going to start to mesh together, and everything's going to be flow easier. If you want to become the most effective in the way that you work, in the way you show up, and how you run your business, focus on your body first. Focus on how you're supporting your body first. And I guarantee that vehicle that you have, your body, it will pay you back in so many ways. Now, I'm going to give you a sixth bonus mistake that I see a lot of women making. But before you do that, if you have not subscribed to this channel, go ahead and do that so that you can learn more about integrating your body and your cycle in your business together. You'll also see that there's a download for my 6-step blueprint for how to create that week off system and how to really integrate your cycle into your life, into your business, so that you can take that week off and not feel like there's this pressure of, like, tons of stuff that's still on the plate. Now, the last mistake, number 6, is maybe a little bit counterintuitive to the last, number 5, that I just talked about, and the fact that, like, everything in your life is impacting your cycle. The mistake number 6 is people trying to change everything at once and trying to do all of it at once. It can be really overwhelming when you feel like you have to change everything. And right now, your life might be fully operating in this more masculine time-based structure and this time-based rhythm. You may be going in this very masculine way in your business and in your life. And so to try to change everything all at one time is likely going to set you up for failure. A lot of women get excited about that, probably in the follicular phase, get very excited about trying to make these big changes and doing all these big things and go all in, and then burn out very quickly or get to the luteal phase and then don't want to do it anymore. And so just start small. Start making small changes. Like, what if even just making 10% change in your life had the ability to make these massive ripples? Would that be worth it for you? So rather than feeling like you have to go all in and do everything, change your food, your exercise, your sleep, your work, your relationships, how you go out, your social hours, your calendars, like literally everything, what can you do? Again, can we start asking more powerful questions? What is possible for you to integrate now and start seeing that ripple, and then slowly just add in more and more and more as time goes on? Go grab that download that I have for you on that 6-step blueprint for how you can actually integrate this into your life and business and really make it smooth and seamless. And I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.